Hello everybody, I'm back with another video of me talking about things that no one specifically asked me to talk about, overlaid atop a painting video of something slightly related to the thing no one specifically asked me to talk about. So anyway, let's get into it. And that topic is the raptor issue in the Jurassic Park franchise. So it's long since been a topic of debate within dinosaur fans, Jurassic Park fans, within the Jurassic Park fiction itself and beyond, that the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park aren't Velociraptors at all. Don't get me wrong, I love the look of the raptors. I think that, putting science and real life paleontology aside, they look cool as hell. Especially in the third Jurassic Park film, which has, as far as in movie dinosaurs, my absolute favorite raptors out of all three of the original films. Okay, so let's get into the Velociraptors in the novel and the Velociraptors in the film. The inaccuracy of the dinosaurs in the movie, specifically the predators such as Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, isn't addressed much until Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World. But the raptors in the entire Jurassic Park franchise are wildly depicted as completely different from what the actual Velociraptors would be. Namely, they are much, much larger and much more dangerous than an actual Velociraptor, as can be predicted by the fossil record. Proper velociraptors are essentially the size of a turkey and not much heavier than a medium-sized dog. And this is not at all how they are described in the novel or at all how they are depicted in the movies. The raptors in the movie are much larger than that and horrendously dangerous, which leads me to believe that the depiction in the movie is more likely meant to be a Utah raptor or a Dromaeosaurus, which according to the fossil record are massive in comparison to Velociraptor and easily 10 times the weight. The novel, while not describing them exactly as they were later depicted in the films, describes the general appearance of them in a much similar way. In the novel by Michael Crichton, we can find several depictions of the Velociraptors in the park as described by different characters in the novelization. They're mostly described as looking like a lizard, with various striped/speckled patterns in different shades of yellow, green, and brown. And then later they encounter one that's visually darker and has patterns more akin to a chameleon, and that one specifically is deduced to have been bred in the wild and was not a result of cloning. That little tidbit is super cool because in Jurassic Park 3, the raptor's colors and features do more closely resemble this natural-born raptor's description. I don't know if that was on purpose. Jurassic Park 3 came out much longer after the other two, and also it was the only one that really wasn't directly based off of a Crichton novel, and he really didn't have anything to do with that one. So, I don't know, maybe they were just picking and choosing tidbits they forgot to include in the original too. In addition to that, they are also described as having a lizard snout and beady eyes, having a forked tongue that they used to sniff the air, which was a trait that was ultimately cut out in the movies. Their skin is described as being thick, leathery, and having a pebbled texture, and they are described as having 3 fingers with curved claws on their forearms. Now let us discuss the science! I'm going to tell you a story about Dromaeosauridae, which is a family of feathered, coelurosaurian theropod dinosaurs. They were generally small to medium-sized feathered carnivores that flourished in the Cretaceous period. This is an overarching umbrella to many much smaller branches on the dinosaur family tree, so to speak. The subfamily of this, Dromaeosaurinae, was first erected in 1922 by William Matthew and Barnum Brown as a part of the Dinodontidae, now named Tyrannosauridae, which includes dinosaurs such as Albertosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, aka T-Rex, and Lythronex. Today, Dromaeosaurinae has been formally defined as an individual group of common ancestry, including Dromaeosaurus and all other dromaeosaurs closer to it than Velociraptor, Microraptor, Passer, and Unalagia. Eudromaeosaura itself was first defined by Nick Longrich and Philip J. Currie in 2009 as the most inclusive natural group containing Dromaeosaurus, Velociraptor, Deinonychus, and Sornitholestes, their most recent common ancestor, and all of its other descendants. The various subfamilies have also been redefined based on their believed common ancestry, usually defined as all species closer to either Velociraptor, Dromaeosaurus, or Sornitholestes. These 3 subfamilies are Dromaeosaurinae, Velociraptorinae, and Sornitholestiinae, which is super creative. Dromaeosaurians are usually found to consist of medium to giant-sized species with generally box-shaped skulls, while the other subfamilies have a more narrow snout as a general rule. Velociraptorinae has traditionally included more slender-snouted species, which are primarily found in Asia, although this group may also include North American genera like Dinioblator and Deinonychus. Sorornitholescinae is the most recently named subfamily, and it typically consists of the smaller species with shortened snouts. A number of eudromaeosaurs have not been assigned to any particular subfamily, and this is because they are too poorly preserved to be placed confidently in either. Like other theropods, dromaeosaurs were bipedal, as in they walked on their hind legs. Fossilized footprint tracks confirm that many Paravian groups, including the dromaeosaurids, held the second toe off the ground in a hyperextended position, with only the third and fourth toes bearing the weight of the animal.
Just like the raptors in Jurassic Park!
This basically means that almost all of them had the characteristic scary claw that Dr. Grant carries around, and you hear clicking around on all the raptors in the Jurassic Park franchise. When compared to the raptors in the Jurassic Park franchise, it's pretty obvious that the larger family of raptors known as dromaeosaurs was the primary inspiration for the creatures that ultimately ended up on screen. Which is also crazy that this isn't just what they went with altogether, since upon my recent reread of Jurassic Park the novel, they actually mention and address dromaeosaurs directly. Dr. Grant lists them off along with several other raptor species as being believed to quote-unquote be egg eaters, as he tries to poison the raptor antagonist with chemically injected eggs. But still, Crichton decided to just go with Velociraptor. Alright then, Crichton. Let's talk about fluffy dinosaurs. So I actually do give Jurassic Park creators a pass at not attempting to give the raptors feathers, since the notion of a feathered raptor didn't even really come up until a paleontological discovery of a velociraptor's arm in 1998, where scientists found evidence of 6 quill knobs, which are locations where feathers are anchored to the bone, on the forearm of a velociraptor fossil. However, despite the fossil being unearthed in 1998, the research and discovery of quill knobs was not deduced until 2007 after further research. Long after the development and release of all Jurassic Park movies and the publication of both Jurassic Park novels. It wasn't until the discovery and research of a nearly complete Zhuangyanlong in 2015 that scientists were able to get a more complete picture of a fully feathered raptor. Which this just also adds credence to the fact that the third Jurassic Park movie raptors are my favorite raptors in the whole franchise. They have the weird little quills on the top of their head, and a feathered raptor hadn't even necessarily become mainstream at that point, and so they were just doing it because they thought it looked cool and accidentally became quasi-scientifically accurate. So, mad props, Jurassic Park 3. Which is unironically my favorite out of all 3 of the original movies. I'm just gonna say it. I know people hate on Jurassic Park 3, but I really liked it. Now we're gonna get to the most recent reboot of the Jurassic Park franchise, Jurassic World, where they sort of try to retcon the incorrectly created raptors and then somehow make it worse. In Jurassic World Dominion, we actually get a glimpse of a quote-unquote more scientifically accurate raptor, where they essentially take the original model and slap some feathers onto it, which, it's still obviously the same design, just adapted to more closely resemble real-life modern science. Which initially you think, hey, yeah, that's awesome, better late than never, I guess, right? Wrong! This dinosaur is credited as being a pyroraptor, whose fossil was discovered more or less around the same time as Utahraptor, but not actually named or further researched until around 2000. Pyroraptor is mostly accepted as belonging to the same family of dinosaurs as Utahraptor, but current science hasn't officially included it within any particular family. But all of this to say, it just makes it really bizarre that this was the species they went with. Paleontology had discovered loads of fully to partially feathered raptors and other carnivorous dinosaurs by this point, so they had several to choose from if they wanted to introduce a large antagonistic animal to the story. Even if they didn't want it to be a raptor, they have tons of other species to choose from that fit their need for a scary name, a large presence, and the ability to be viewed as the antagonist of whatever scene they throw it into. They had Deinonychus, an actual Dilophosaurus, that aren't actually as small as they're depicted in the original Jurassic Park movie. In reality, they're actually 20 feet long and almost 1,000 pounds. They could have chosen Dakotaraptor, Utahraptor, Cryolophosaurus, the list goes on. Dinosaurs are so cool, and there are so many! Even with the ability to accurately depict several different options for a paleontologically backed raptor, they got it wrong. While Pyroraptor is visually close to Utahraptor, their size is directly comparable to the Velociraptor. They're teeny, they're not these 7-foot-tall monsters they keep depicting in the Jurassic Park movies. But a 3.5-foot-tall raptor's not scary, and the raptors with the cool names aren't the ones that are visually menacing, so they do a little movie switcheroo and hope that all the viewers aren't all dinosaur nerds, which is kind of a bold ask in this type of franchise. So a lot of the writing and development of Jurassic Park almost entirely overlap the discovery and research of Utahraptor. It technically had been discovered at the time of Crichton's writing, but it wasn't widely known or studied up until right around the same time that the book was being written. So you could say this was the new raptor on the scene, so to speak. However, Dromaeosaur had been discovered years prior in 1914 and classified within its own genus by 1922, only shortly before Velociraptor was first discovered in 1923. So science had well-established raptors in the record by the time Crichton was writing his novel. But get this, Michael Crichton himself actually admitted to directly basing his raptors off of Deinonychus, which were discovered in 1964. Crichton himself admits that he just straight up referred to them as Velociraptors for the sake of narrative impact because it sounded more dramatic and frightening for his story. Which, given that Crichton was a scientist himself, this is infuriating, and it's so frustrating to me. Now let's talk about the movie! I can give more leeway to the adaptations of the raptors in the movie, if only technical reasons, if nothing else. But Michael Crichton was also involved in the writing and creation of the movie, so the same rationale from the novels most likely followed into the creation of the film. Anyway, when it comes to the special effects, Stan Winston Studios, the studio known for the special effect puppetry and animatronics in movies like Terminator, Aliens, Predator, and several other well-known movies, was also the studio responsible for the dinosaurs in the Jurassic Park movies. While they weren't strangers to animatronics, seeing as many of their other movies included several of them, as well as the massive T-Rex being animatronic, it's understandable that the movement and action required of the Velociraptors in the movie would require a lot more direct control in the form of an actor inside the suit operating it as a puppet. Especially given that it's well known that the T-Rex animatronic had a hell of a time during production and was plagued with operational issues over the course of shooting. In my opinion, they could have always gone the little dog in a suit route like they did in the Aliens movie, which would have made the Velociraptors more size accurate. But again, you get back to the issue of that wouldn't have been nearly as intimidating, and it's generally much easier to direct a human actor than a whippet. But whippets are much cuter. Anyway, I understand that Velociraptor sounds a lot more menacing than Utahraptor, or Dromaeosaur, or Deinonychus, but they could have gotten around this by just calling them raptors and leaving it somewhat ambiguous, and then later addressing it in other film and novel adaptations. They're finding blood in mosquitoes and bugs at random. A lot of dinosaur skeletons look alike when there's not much research available. There's tons of ways that scientists can just throw their hands up and just let them be raptors of no particular creed. But Crichton and Spielberg wanted to make things sound as legit as possible, and they needed a scary name for their scary dinosaurs. I know it's just a book, I know it's just a movie, I know it's not real, but I am still upset about it. Dinosaurs are real. There are real dinosaurs that they could have used. I will still call them Velociraptors to avoid confusion, but in my heart of hearts, I know that's just not true, and I die a little inside every time. Anyway, now you know more about Velociraptors and several other dinosaurs than you ever wanted to know. And at the same time, you got to learn a few fun facts about the movie and the novel, as well as watch me paint a dinosaur of no particular species. We could just call it a Velociraptor. Anything can be a Velociraptor. Look at me, I'm Michael Crichton. Let's just call it a Velociraptor because that sounds super cool. Thank you for watching me paint my Velociraptor. Goodbye. Thanks.